you should always be running your business as if you're going to be selling it. And we certainly there's a long discussion in there, but yeah, we refer to it as the NSP COA, the Normalized Solution Provider Chart of Accounts. The NSP COA, I don't know any private equity buyer out there or any other anybody who does a lot of M&A for the industry who doesn't use or at least understand the NSP COA. It's become really the gold standard for chart of accounts in our industry. And that's part of the value of the data that we get is we just have such a large partner sample from all over the world that every quarter is putting their data into the system. There's nothing like it from a comparable data standpoint.
How many MSPs report to you at this point?
We don't, as a policy, we don't disclose sample sizes, not because they're small, but because it opens up a discussion well, how many MSPs are in my town that I directly compete with that look exactly like me, that are in my exact target customer profile range and my exact size of revenue, right? Because those are the only ones I want to look at. It ultimately usually leads down that. So we don't disclose it, but we benchmark 3 different peer group communities, including IT Nation Evolve, which I believe is the largest peer group community worldwide. We benchmark, we have a large number of subscribers who subscribe just to benchmark. So it's a statistically significant sample in all the geos we operate.
Peter, are you tracking any sales numbers after a company sells? When I got my master's degree in finance, I was doing quite a bit of research on valuation and valuation nuances. So as you know, there are many types of managed services practices, and not all practices are created equal. The revenue, the profit from some practices, based on my experience working with other companies, is more valuable than the profit generated by certain other practices. And so I'm wondering whether you do track enterprise value on sale for the clients that you have.
So the answer would be sort of. We do track revenue trends, and we look, and we also every year we come out with our opinion on multiples, and so we look at one of those is based on valuations of multiples of different types of revenue. And so we have the ability to look at that. We also do separately track private equity-backed MSPs, and so we report on those. And the majority of their growth, while some of it's certainly organic, the majority of that has been acquisition-based. So it's a mix after when we're looking at their data. So we look at it in some different ways. And in fact, we're going to start a couple of quarters ago, we started to capture some nuance within the private equity model ownership of integrated and partially integrated. And we also are starting to track ESOPs. So the goal with all of those things is as we go forward, we should be able to have some even more granular reporting on not only the differences in the models over time, but we should be able to track the differences in the models after change. So if I go from privately held to private equity, well, if we know, as long as we know the quarter that transition took place, then we can start to really report on what was your growth before and after? What was your profitability before and after? What did your service gross margin look like before and after? What were you spending on sales before and after, right? So over time, we do have some of that data, and we do report on some of it now, but we're in the process of being able to add a lot more reporting on that.
I could get a whole nother master's degree just doing research on that data, I'm sure. Tell us a little bit about operational maturity levels and what it means to be a mature MSP.
Sure. So I hear the term being used a little bit in the industry of operational maturity level, but fun fact is Service Leadership actually trademarked that term about 11 years ago. And so in the context of a technology firm, Service Leadership, and now ConnectWise owns that trademark. Little trivia for you. So We talk about it OML on a scale of 1 to 5, and everybody starts out at OML 1, which is really the startup, just getting the business going phase. And you've owned some MSPs, so you remember what these days were like. It's every dollar is a good dollar. I just need some revenue to keep the lights on and be able to try to build a business. And so if you make it out of that phase, and frankly, most businesses don't. Most businesses that start out there, most startups fail. The percentages of success is a little higher in the managed service space than the general population, but nonetheless, it's really challenging. And so you're willing to make exceptions on pricing, you're willing to make exceptions on tech stack and what you're going to have to support. You're probably willing to make some customized offerings up on the managed service offerings. It's like whatever it takes, I got to get some revenue in the door. So if you do that and you're successful with it, you wake up in OML2, and now I've got to support all of these different customers on all of this different technology, and some of which may be profitable contracts, some of which maybe not, all these exceptions baked into those agreements. And so you wake up one day, and the good news is you survived OML1. The bad news is now you gotta support it. And our nickname for OML2 is the pit of despair. That it's a really tough place to live. It's hard, and every MSP who's been there knows how challenging that time is, that you don't have the standardization that you need to have. Your customers start getting pretty frustrated with your employees around this time. Your employees start getting pretty frustrated with you around this time, right? It's just, you're probably not profitable. So this is when you start to say, are we ever going to turn the corner on this business? So if you keep your head down and you start to standardize your offerings and start to put into place some better business practices with running your MSP, you get to OML3, and at OML 3.1, 3.2, you're making some money. Your customers are probably renewing at a higher percentage, and life starts to get a little bit better. You just start to intuitively feel at your MSP like, all right, we're starting to get the hang of this thing. If you can get up to an OML 3.8 or 3.9, our data tells us that at that point, you're likely to be at best-in-class profitability, that you're building an MSP that will be really able to acquire and integrate future acquisitions into your platform. You're going to be really scalable, that overall you get up to 3.8, 3.9, 4, things are going really well at your business. So we measure that. We have an online tool called Sleek, which is SLIQ, and Service Leadership came out with Sleek 10 years ago, as of last fall. So the 10-year anniversary of the product, and it's really a remarkable product. It's designed it follows the coaching methodology that Paul and some of his partners had back in the day, which was to go in and really ask a series of questions about how the business is doing things. Based on the answers to those questions, come back with an OML level and a series of recommendations that were prioritized on how to improve the business. And you can't do everything at once, so what things should you focus on that will have the greatest impact on your business? Today, that's still how Sleek works. You go in and you answer about 150 questions. You do it with your leadership team around a roundtable. Takes about 3-4 hours to go through the initial assessment. When you're done, it'll tell you what's your OML, and it's looking at 5 areas of your business, and there's 40 different traits within there, and it'll tell you based on your scores what should you work on first and what's going to make the biggest bang for the buck impact on your business.